Welcome to the Deal by Me podcast, where we ask guests to tell us your story. Hello there. This is Dr. James W. Smith, your host. We seek to transform lives by encouraging and inspiring. Someone encouraged and inspired this host, a former lawyer, gambler, inmate, and his life was transformed. The same can happen to you. So when you listen to any of the Deal by Me podcasts, please support this podcast with a donation or a monthly recurring amount for as little as $3. What about a shout out to supporters of this podcast? Reverend Quincy Davis, Dr. Lynn Henderson, Kenneth and Donald McDuffie, Olivia Marbro, Clint and Jonette Cozart, and Leonard and Cynthia Meekins. Check out my encouraging, inspiring, and transforming books. I'm available for speaking engagements, in-person and virtual seminars. So please contact me through my website, www.dealbyme.com. I have with me Carlo Chincarini, and if I'm mispronouncing that name incorrectly, please let me know, who is known as a Kingmaker. He is a world-class business and performance coach with 15 years experience coaching individuals and teams from all over the world. He rose from living in mental and emotional scarcity on $3.62 per hour to leading a multiple six-figure coaching business. He had to walk the talk of getting the absolute best out of himself, and now he is passing on the Kingmaker method to people all over the world. Oh, what a exciting guest we have with us today, and I'm just so excited to have Carlos come and share with us today. Carlos, please pronounce that last name for guests of this podcast today.
It's actually an Italian surname, so it's Chincarini. But
King Carini. King
it's not the
Carini.
easiest one. I think I
Okay.
might need to change it to King,
Okay.
King,
I got you.
to make it
Okay.
easier. But
All
that's
right.
all good. What a pleasure to be
Yeah.
on your show. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me.
Carlos, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you've been interviewed from.
Yeah, for sure. So currently I'm in Australia on the Sunshine Coast. And just a quick 2-minute bio for me. I'm a guy that grew up in Italy, moved to Australia when I was 14, and I feel very much called to help people become the king and the queen version of themselves. I started off coaching kids from 2-year-olds to teenagers in for sport and mindset, and then moved into business and high performers and elite athletes from all over the world, really. And now I'm sharing and passing on the Kingmaker method.
Oh, wow. Wow. Well, Carlo, I have had the opportunity to uh, read your profile, and I'm just thrilled that you decided to share with listeners of this podcast. And uh, I just the word, the kingmaker, and you talk about the king and queen, and it's just so interesting, inspiring how you came from, I say, nowhere to somewhere.
Yeah,
Those are my expressions.
I like it.
So tell us a little bit about what you mean and what it is and how you created this
Mm,
king and queen concept.
yeah. I really believe that within each and every single person that there are multiple versions of ourselves. There
Hmm.
is the version of ourselves that might be lazy, might be
Hmm.
insecure, might be full of doubt, might be in scarcity.
Hmm.
But then within the same body, there is a version of us that is the ultimate us. And I talk about the king and I talk about the queen, and I actually work with a lot of women. They're like, "Oh, do you just work with men because of the name?" Like, no,
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
misses the point. The point is to discover, or to first of all realize and become aware of the fact that there are two versions of ourselves, and that there is an ultimate version of ourselves, our higher self, our king and queen self
Hmm.
that sits and lives inside of us. And a lot of the time through life and through the conditioning of our journey and all the things that happen in life, the good, the bad, it gets put to one side and it
Hmm.
gets buried behind the stresses and the anxieties and what I call the weaker self, the little. I actually the definition, the terminology that I use is the little bitch self,
Mhm.
because when we're talking about the the king self, there is this vision that people get that is the ultimate, the greatest, the one that is willing to go through whatever needs to be done in order to be successful.
Mm.
It's the 100% version of us. Whereas the bitch self, and I'm being a little bit facetious with this, but it's to really drive the point that acts like insecurity, acts like the insecure self, the doubtful self. And a lot of the time we work with people in business and I work with people in sport. And in business, what that king self looks like is the version of you that you know is there, that can be extremely confident, completely certain, that loves what they do, that they're great at what they do, that they know that they're great at what they do,
Mm.
and they're able then to show up and manifest that with the energy that matches it, right? But there's also that little bits of that might come into insecurity. And people, everyone has got their own version. Everyone's got their little thing. And what I love to do is move one from the lower self, the weaker self, or let's call it that little bit self, into your queen self, into your king self, and to help you be everything that you know you can be. And so
Mm.
we've developed a method, a day-to-day method that uh, is really powerful in doing that.
Mhm.
And people are really starting to appreciate it, to see the difference it makes. And I couldn't be happier.
Wow, wow. It's so exciting. I just love reading about what you do and how you have, kind of created this concept. Why is it so important to live as the king and queen self? Talk about that a little bit because,
Mm.
you know, uh, you talk about this kingmaker, and so let me find out or explain to listeners of this podcast, why is that so important? Why are you telling people to
Yeah,
live like that?
it's such a really good question, and I'm actually really pleased you asked that. Ultimately, our potential and what we're capable of is what we're here to fulfill. So I'm quite a spiritual person. Most people that maybe see my socials may or may not be able to tell. But I genuinely believe in people and in people's potential. I believe that they have potential and that they should maximize it. And that this life that we've been given is designed for us to become everything that we can be.
Mm.
Why?
Mm.
Because there's no there's no mistake, there's no accident. And if we're here to do something, if we're called to do something, it's for a purpose. The the word desire comes from the Latin of the Father. So whether people listening to this show are spiritual or not, it's really interesting to understand that the word desire comes from the Latin that translates to of the Father,
Mm.
meaning that something has been given to you. So if you have a desire to do something, you have a desire to make more money, you have a desire to travel, you have a desire to create a powerful business, you have a desire to help people, impact communities around the world, make something of yourself, then the only way that you're able to fulfill that is if you become everything that you can be.
Mm.
That's the game. Because if you can become everything that you can be and the greatest version of you, 10 out of 10 in every area of your life, then to me, I already know that that's what's going to be enough for you to create and fulfill that. So
Mm.
you ask, why is it important to live as our king self? Because I believe that that's what we're called to do.
Hmm.
I believe that we're called to be everything that we can be. We live in a universe, in a world where everything is in perfect balance and everything is perfect. If we get out of the way, everything is perfect. So if we can remove the blocks and the limitations and the things that get in our way, so that we can let that higher self of us actually come out, all of a sudden we are confidence,
Hmm.
we are certainty, we are abundance, we are wealth. Because everyone that is listening would have a reference in their life when, if they ask themselves, hey, when I was at my best, did I succeed? Did I have the things, the things go my way? Was life good? Most people realize that, yeah, I really was confident. I really was. And I did have my best results when that was the case.
Hmm.
So the question is, how do we do that every single day? How can we help you, help individuals step into that and live into that every single day? What do we need to remove and what do we need to build up? What do we need to remove is that lower self, those habits and those identities that are holding you back, those stories, those reasons. And I was just talking to someone yesterday, James, where this person had made a bunch of investments in this past, and maybe they didn't work out as well as they
Hmm.
could have.
Hmm.
And now he's afraid to move forward and make an investment that genuinely would make a difference, but
Right.
he's holding himself back because of fear. So we need to remove the fear to replace it with confidence and belief and faith and trust that things will go a better way. And we need to learn from the past and build up that version of ourselves that actually, you know what? I am not what's happened to me. I am who I choose to be. And I choose to go for the things that I want, not the things that I think that I can get.
Hmm.
But in order to think that way, feel that way, act that way, you need to be a certain version of you, the one that
Yeah.
I call the king and queen.
Well said. Well said. I'm reading your profile, and one of the things that you do talk about is, how to become this, this kingmaker. And so you talk about the blueprint. So I want to ask you this, since you talk about money blueprint, especially the Catholic money blueprint, can you explain what it is? Because uh, and folks might want to know that when, as you talk,
For sure.
you really, you're giving some, I mean, really great information, but sometimes things can be a little above a listener's head. They hear it, but they need to know exactly what you mean by it. So, what do you
100%.
mean by that?
Okay. So we've come up with a very practical blueprint. So what we mean by blueprint is this: a little step by step every single day
Okay.
process that you can follow. Simple actions, simple routines, simple habits.
Hmm.
Why is that important? Because I mean, I've just come back from working with a professional soccer team in Israel, and the similarity between an athlete and a business person and an everyday person is fascinating. Because whereas an athlete is looking to perform in a designated time, and everyday people and business people, we should focus on our performance and the results that we want to get, the life that we want to live. But in order for the athlete to perform when it counts, all that matters is everything they've done before that point. Because if everything they've done before that point, or the habits, or the little things they did, little things that were unseen from the public, they were good. Let's call it good. Let's just label it simply as good, right?
Hmm.
Productive, healthy, supportive towards their cause. Then the performance in the little moment is going to go their way. So much easier than if they just hoped that things went their way. So let me bring it back to everyday people and business people. We all want to perform. It's about performance. It's about the results that we can create. Most of the time, people don't know how to create those results. What we've done is said, okay, what would create those results for people? What will make a difference? And what would help them to stay in that version of themselves consistently so they can create it? So we've put together little first of all, like everyday performance habits, which gives people a structure. Say, when you wake up, the first thing that you do is this, then this, then this, then this, then this. People lack structure, they lack routine, they lack consistency. So when I work with athletes or business people, the first thing that I do is say, okay, we need structure, we need routine. Okay, we need you to have that discipline that gives you freedom, that you can create predictable results. So part of that is a lot around intention. So I get people to create this beautiful intention exercise every day. And we say, hey, what do you want? And you say, if you're spiritual, you might, direct it to God. Some people, connect more to a universe, life, whatever there might be. And say, hey, this is what I'm calling in. And then you go into detail and you create this beautiful picture of what you want. Because even if we say, and I'll touch into the money blueprint, I speak to a lot of people that say, hey, I want more money. Okay, great. How much money do you want? Do you want an extra $20? Here's an extra $20. Is that what you want? Say, oh no. It's like, okay, because you actually want something different that gives you a feeling of being abundant and wealthy. True or false? True. So how much is that? But unless we become aware and unless we become intentional around it, then how are we gonna be able to create that? Right. So first of all, there comes the Kingmaker blueprint, King Energy blueprint, to help you step into the king or queen self. That includes some meditation stuff, it includes some movement, it includes expression, includes verbalization, actually being courageous enough to say what you want. Hey, I want this. I want this, and I want to fly first class. I want to have the car, the house, whatever it might be, right? But people get into their head because now we're touching into their scarcity mindset. So then with a money blueprint, what we need to do and understand is this, that the way someone sees money and the beliefs that they have around money comes from the education that they've received around money. And I talk a lot around the concept that we have subconscious, meaning beliefs that we're not really even aware of that we have, right? And just like a blueprint for a building, okay, that a builder gets and says, okay, I have the blueprint, I'm going to go and build it. He's not going to be able to build a 3-story mansion on the beach by holding a blueprint that is for a 1-bedroom apartment, tucked away somewhere. The blueprint has to match. See, where we stand, where majority of people stand, is that they want to create the 3-story mansion on the beach, but they're currently holding a 1-story bedroom.
I got you. I got you.
Right?
I got
So
you.
what we need to do is recreate that blueprint to match where they want to go. How is a blueprint created? It's created by 3 things: the things that we hear, okay, the things that we see, the modeling experience that we've seen other people do, and the experiences that we've had, the emotional experiences. So the reason why I love talking about money is because I know so many people want to go one way, but they're conditioned to go another. And so there's this beautiful transformation process that we take people through. It's okay. What are the things that you heard about yourself and about money through your upbringing? Was money difficult? Is money hard? It was money scarce. Only some people can make money. Only people that look this way, have that amount of hair, are this body shape, can have money. You never, like, it's crazy what people have in their head. But we need to become aware and then transform it, right?
I
What are
hear
the
you.
things that you see? What were your parents like with money? What was your church community like with money? What were the things that you saw people do? And then what are the emotional experiences? Because if we can transform these 3 things, I already know that people's financial future completely changes. And there's no other way to do it.
I hear you. I hear you. That's so very interesting. I'm taking from what I'm hearing that is all about intentionality. That you got to be intentional with what you want to do. Even with your blueprint, you got to know where you want to go, and you just can't have one blueprint for one thing and your mind is somewhere else. I think I'm about getting you now. So
Yes.
so talk to us about yourself. You know, you went from $3.62 an hour for about 10 years.
Yeah.
So your profile says to multiple six figures. And
Mm.
so tell us what changed in your life. You know, what caused you to do that? Was it your mindset? It's just you worked harder? What was it?
It's definitely a journey, right? And going from the financial struggle that I was going through, and I was building a business. I mean, crazy. Who would do that, right? And you have
Mm-hmm.
business owners out there doing it all the time because they have a vision. What really changed for me was the Kingmaker method. I put myself through. I started doing things, and step by step, I rebuilt my whole relationship with money. It had to be rebuilt. It wasn't taking me where I wanted to go. I knew that $3.62 an hour wasn't my destiny, wasn't my life path.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in order for that to change, one thing had to change, and that was me. And I had to change the habits of insecurity and putting things off and not going for the things that I really wanted, just settling. It was a change of habits, a change of routines, and was change of ultimately what it really was and what it really came down to. It was a change of identity. It was a
Okay.
change of who am I being every single day? Who's this consistent person that I'm being? Because for me and like majority of people, they want to go somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
but the person that they're and the personality, the person that they're living out every single day isn't isn't who they need to be. And you're 100% right. When you say intentionality, it's exactly right. You hit the nail on the head because we're called to be creators.
Mm-hmm.
We have the ability within us to be creators, not to be passive and to be consumers all the time. That's what we're being conditioned to do, to just fit into a box.
Mm-hmm.
But it's about actually creating our life and
Okay.
creating the business you want to have, the life that you want to be, the person you want to be, the body you want to have. Most people don't believe that they can have that, but
Okay.
it's 100% about that.
Wow.
And
Wow.
once you step into that king version, it's the king but queen version of you that is the creator, the
Mm,
co-creator of your own life.
mm,
Okay. Whereas it's so much easier to just sit back and be the passenger.
mm.
I just don't believe that we're called to do that. So I stepped into, I lived out this Kingmaker method every single day, created that king version of myself. And that's always growing, that's
Mhm.
always improving, that's always going up a different level. And people,
Okay.
when they go through this journey, they will see that they will begin with one thing and then they'll, it'll keep evolving
Uh,
and it'll keep
So,
leveling up to another level.
so you wanted to be the driver and not the passenger. Is that basically correct?
Isn't that how life is meant to be?
I like that. I love it. let me let me say this to you. You know, one of the things I wanted to do was to continue my ministry after retiring from my pastorate. So that's why I'm doing this podcast, because I wanted to do something that I thought would be encouraging, inspiring, and hopefully transforming to listeners
Yeah.
of my podcast. You're a perfect guest, really are you? Because where you came from to where you are now is obviously very inspirational and transformative. So if you were to, to talk with someone or give some encouraging words, some inspiring words to someone who, is kind of down in the dumps, they want to do better, and I'm thinking about you're going from $3.62 for 10 years now to six figures. What would you say to them?
It would be pretty simple, really.
Mm-hmm.
I would I would really just say, okay, let's have a look at your life. What are the things that you're doing?
Okay.
Don't need to get emotional about it. It's actually if we stay unemotional and we just say, okay, show me what the things that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you want to go? Tell me where you want to go. We'll create a plan. And then it's about putting in the work. It's about faith through, putting your faith to work, right? And by actually stepping into and doing the things that are scaring, it's actually using your faith, putting your faith to making that a reality, right? And I'm a spiritual guy, and I love your mission, and I think people need people like you in their life, right? So helping someone by changing their habits.
Okay.
Okay, so okay, where do we want to go? What do you feel called to do? Feel called to do this. Okay, great. These are the things that we need to do. And then you
Okay.
need to go to war with yourself every single day. You need to go to war with a part of you that wants to keep you the same, wants to keep you stuck because it's easier. Feel
Mm.
it's not actually easier, right? It's way easier to be successful,
Mm.
but it feels easier initially to just stay the same.
I
But
like
that's
that.
not but that's not what God's calling you to do, because
Mm-hmm.
I work with people, James, that are called to do something. And we all know the story about the 10 talents.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I'm so passionate about it because if you feel called to do something and you have a talent, then I feel called to kick people in the butt until they use that, because regret feels really heavy and it's
Mm-hmm.
not good, and it's painful. It eats away at you. So I much rather give people the love that they actually need, not the one that they want, in order to get there. Because I feel like that's what
I hear you.
a very famous person, you know, Jesus did. He's
Mm-hmm.
the greatest leader of all time. If you look at what he did, so it's get a mentor, find someone that can hold your hand and build it.
Mm-hmm.
Trust the process. If someone has been successful and it's worked for them, follow their steps.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Don't reinvent the wheel and model it.
I hear you. Okay. That sounds excellent and good advice. Listeners, hang with us for just a couple of more minutes uh, because I want to first of all ask Carlos if someone is interested in learning more about you, if you have a book that's available, could you just tell listeners of this podcast a little bit about how they can contact you, or if there's a book, they can get your book or whatever?
100%. I don't quite yet have a book ready to go.
Okay.
It's in the building process. If anyone
Okay.
would like to get in contact with me, feel free to head to Instagram. If you are on Instagram at the Kingmaker Coaching, you can find me there. Drop me a DM. Love to connect with people. I also have a new mindset mastery course. If people are interested, if they're interested in jumping on and having a look, it's 6 weeks. It's transformational. And if you're open to it, James, I'd love to give it to people of your audience with a 50% discount,
Right.
so that they can see this and they can start building towards a life that they actually want. So if they want to jump in, I'll give them a discount. So even if they put in deal by me in the coupon, we can put it in the show notes if that's okay with you.
Mm-hmm.
They get a 50% discount, make it even more affordable.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. If you could go back and do it all over again, what would you do? And tell us why.
I would, if I could go back and right from the beginning and I could go back, I would really focus on developing the principles of success,
Mm.
to developing discipline, developing the key characteristics going to help me to fulfill what I feel called to do,
Mm-hmm.
to make the most of myself. And
Okay.
then I would step into the greatest version of myself or what I feel called to do, and not be compromising to anyone else or anything else, and
Well
trust
said.
more.
Well said.
Trust even more.
Well said. Mm. Let me ask you this last question. I'm gonna let you go. How does someone step, into their king energy every day? Because it looks like that's tough. You to be there every day. Some people are okay. They're okay today, but tomorrow they're down. They're not where they ought to be. How do they keep that every day?
How did you know that? That was the biggest thing. This is the biggest question, and that is the biggest fear that people have. They think I can do it one day, but I can't do it. How could I possibly
Yeah.
do it every day?
Mm-hmm.
Two things. It's a choice.
Mm.
It comes down to mental and emotional discipline. And
Mm.
ask yourself the question, why am I accepting to feel any way that isn't the best way? Why do we accept that, hey, maybe I should feel down today? Oh, yeah, that thing happens. I should feel disappointed. I should feel sad. I should feel this.
Mm.
Emotions are okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with any emotion that we feel. We're humans. We're emotional. We've been given emotions for a reason, and we should want to feel them all.
Mm.
But then after that, why should we sit in it? Why should that become what we feel for the rest of the day, for the rest of the week, for the rest of the month? So when it comes to mental and emotional discipline, it's about saying, I feel that. Thank you that I feel that. Thank you that I can feel that. But you know what? I'd rather feel confidence. I'd rather
Mm.
feel certainty. I'd rather feel love. I'd rather feel blessed. I'd rather feel grace. It's a
Mm.
choice. It's a choice that you make every single moment of every single day. Now, once we realize that it's a choice, we can go through one day and step into that energy.
Mm.
Then we can wake up and go again, and then go again, and then go again. And if it's not the highest emotional state and energy, why do you have to do that to yourself? There's no one else doing it for you. There's no one with a hand saying you should feel this way. No, it's ourselves that we do it to ourselves. So the first is choice. The second is movement.
Mm.
It's actually moving and stepping, getting out of our body that wants to keep us small and that wants to keep us stagnant, and actually getting out and see, here's the biggest thing that I've realized around energy. And I'll finish with this. Most people look at kids and think, oh man, I wish I had that energy. Give me some of that energy. And you think that energy is something that you receive after you rest, after you lay down, have a sleep, after you get a massage. But I challenge that, because I've woken up times where I'm more tired than when I've gone to bed. True or false? So,
Mm.
what if energy wasn't something that you receive, but it's something that you express? And that the more you release, the more you actually have.
Wow. Wow. I hear you.
Doesn't that change?
Oh
Doesn't
boy,
that change the model of the world?
that's powerful. That's
And
powerful.
how many positive people you've seen? We go to church, we worship, and all of a sudden we have more energy. We feel in the highest state. Why
Mm-hmm.
is that?
Mm.
You pray, you give thanks, you show gratitude, you go deep, and all of a sudden you verbalize, say, God, thank you for this, thank you for that, thank you. And you worship, you lift him up, and all of a sudden you have more energy.
Mm.
Why is that?
Oh, wow. Well said. Well said. Well, mm, there you have it. Carlos, thank you so much for this awesome interview today. Uh, Carlo is renowned globally as the Kingmaker, and it stands at the forefront of the personal development and high performance industry, transcending boundaries and revolutionizing the way individuals harness their inner potential. We have had an awesome uh, interview with Carlos today. Again, Carlos, thank you.
Thank you, James. Really grateful.
Thank you. And may peace be with each of you And until next time, again, I'll say it again. Peace be with you.